Welcome to Microsoft Server Administration 1. My name is Nick. The topic of the lesson is DNS. Now, if you haven't watched my video on the Active Directory and DNS, I encourage you to watch that. I'm going to be using a few terms here that may be foreign to you if you have not had that introduction video that I've done earlier. Now, DNS, once again, translates names to IP addresses, which is a vital role in a network. So we need a server in the network that provides that function. So what we're going to do is install DNS as a standalone role. Now, you guys in your labs will be installing DNS along with Active Directory. We'll get to Active Directory installation in a different video, but I am going to install DNS as a standalone role mainly to show how much Active Directory depends on DNS. So I have installed my server with an operating system, and I am going to close the initial configuration tasks window. By the way, I have a server name, demo server 1, and an IP address of 192.168.1.11. I'm going to close my initial configuration tasks window and wait for the server manager window to pop up. There we are. And I'm going to install DNS on this server so it can then provide the services of translating names to IP addresses. So I'm going to use the roles and add roles, and I'm going to click next on the introduction screen there, and DNS is my role that I want to install. Now next on that, there's a quick rundown of what the DNS role does. I'm going to click next there, and there's my summary. I'm going to click install. This will run through the installation of the role itself. Now that just installs the role, and there are a few things we have to do on the back end to actually set up DNS to do the job it's supposed to do. I'm going to wait for this progress bar to get on through, and we will continue. There we are. DNS wizard has completed. I'm going to press the close button, and now if I go to start administrative tools, I now see the DNS role in there for me to choose from to open the DNS console. There it is. Now when you open the DNS Manager console, the first thing you see is your server's name. My server's name happens to be Demo Server 1. Yours is going to be different. When I expand that with using this plus sign here, I see a few things underneath. These are zones. Forward lookup, reverse lookup. A zone is where DNS stores the information needed to translate names and IP addresses. That's what a zone is. Now, out of the box, DNS comes with no zones configured. We need to have a zone in DNS to perform the job DNS is supposed to do. So when we say forward lookup zone, that's what we normally think of when we hear about DNS, translating a name to an IP address. Now, a reverse lookup zone obviously is the opposite of that, translating an IP address back into a name. That will be a later discussion. So I'm going to create a new forward lookup zone. So right click and new zone, and there's the introduction. Which zone are we going to create? I'm going to create a primary zone. So next on that, and a zone name, I'm going to choose kind of a funny name here, a foo.com. Okay, so the .com top level domain and the foo second level domain. So foo.com. Next on that, DNS actually stores its information in a .dns file on the file system of the server. So if you wanted to back up that file, you could restore DNS information in case of a corruption using that file. So next on that. And this dynamic update, what this means is whenever a client is plugged into the network, say a Windows 7 machine or another server even, without dynamic updates, we as administrators would have to go into the DNS console and manually enter in the new servers and their associated IP addresses, or the new computers, workstations, and their IP addresses as they are plugged to the network. Okay, without dynamic updates, we have to do a lot more work. So using dynamic updates in DNS, as a computer is plugged to the network, that computer can update the DNS itself. It can contact the DNS server, register itself with DNS and say, hey, my name is Workstation 1, my IP address is 192.168.1.25. Please add this information to the DNS so that those who are looking for me by name can now contact me. That's what a dynamic update does. Now, we have some options concerning dynamic updates. The only one available to us right now is allow both non-secure and secure dynamic updates. That means that we are kind of opening ourselves up completely to workstations and servers. Anybody who gets plugged to the network can update our DNS with their host name and IP address. That presents a security risk because a malicious person, a malicious party, can update our DNS with false information if they wanted to cause us harm, and they can start pointing real DNS names to bogus locations, and that will present a big problem to us. So be very careful when selecting these things. Now, obviously, the only option to us right now is allowing both non-secure and secure dynamic updates. The allowing only secure dynamic updates is a function of an Active Directory integrated zone, which means that the DNS zone has to be stored in Active Directory. That's the kind of zone that an Active Directory installation is going to install whenever you run the Active Directory installation wizard and choose DNS as part of that. So right now I'm going to leave this here. You are going to install DNS as part of Active Directory. So it will install an Active Directory integrated zone and allow only secure updates at that point. So next on this, and here's our summary screen and our finish. Now we have a foo.com zone in our forward lookup zones. The only things we have present in here are start of authority and name server. These identify the server in charge of DNS, of this particular DNS zone. Now, any other computer in the domain that looks for demo server 1 under the foo.com domain currently will not be able to find this server. Well, why not? Because this DNS server does not have a means of translating the name demo server 1 to its associated IP address. What is its associated IP address? Well, right now I'm going to go to command prompt. I'm going to run the ipconfig command. This shows me my current IP configuration. My IP configuration on this server is 192.168.1.11. That's the IP address of this particular server. So if I want people looking for demo server 1 by its name in the foo.com domain, I'm going to have to tell DNS that that name lives at that IP address. So I can simply right click my zone and choose new host or A record. In IP version 6 we call it an AAAA record. So new host, and for the name I'm going to choose the name of my server, so type in demo server 1, and it places the fully qualified domain name in in the box for me. I don't have to do that. So we actually have demoserver1.foo.com. So demoserver1 in the foo.com zone. And the IP address associated with this name is 192.168.1.1. Just what we saw, or 11, sorry. Just what we saw in our IP config command for this server. Now that will translate demoserver1.foo.com to this IP address. I'm going to press add host. That will place it in my list, tell me it succeeded, and blank out those boxes to add another host if I so choose to do that. I currently do not want to add a new host. And I added the wrong name, didn't I? Demo server, and there's no number. This should have a 1 after it, huh? So that's very easy to fix if you add the wrong thing. What I will do is right click, delete that host. It's gone. And now I can add the new record. New host, demo srv1.foo.com, 192.168.1.11, and add host. There we go, and we are done. So now anyone in my network looking by name for demo server 1 under the foo.com namespace will be directed by this server to 192.168.1.11, which is the IP address of this server. Now, there are other records you can create as well in DNS. For instance, CNAMEs, mail exchanger records, and things like that. Now, CNAMEs are very useful. For instance, if I had a web server living on this server, if I had like a web application that was serving up a web page, my clients currently only know how to get to this server by its name of demo server 1. That is the host name of this server. That's what I named it in the installation whenever I went to apply a computer name to it. So this is what it identifies by in DNS. My clients that access my website, if I have one, will type in a browser demoserver1.foo.com. They will get to the web application living on this server. And that works okay, but what if I had to upgrade this server to, say, provide more features to the operating system or provide more features to the web application or what have you? When I upgrade the server itself, the server name is going to change to maybe demo server 2. Okay. In that instant, my clients would then have to change their URL links to type in a browser demoserver2.foo.com. Well, this is kind of a hassle to your clients. You don't want them having to do that kind of stuff. You want to give them one name to go to and them never have to change it. Okay. Because every few years you're going to upgrade this server and the server name is going to change. So you don't want your clients having to change their URL links all the time because you're upgrading your servers. You want to give them a consistent name that never changes. So what we do is we configure a CNAME in DNS to call this server by a different name. So I can go in here to DNS and add a new alias or CNAME, and I can call this alias whatever I choose. Say website.foo.com. And what this does, instead of pointing at an IP address, this points to an existing A record that I already have in DNS. So I can choose the browse feature, or I can just type it in. I'm going to choose a browse, and the only A record I have here is called demo server 1. So I'm going to choose OK on that. That was the server name, by the way. 4 lookup zones, foo.com, and there's my host record, demo server 1. So OK on that, and now website.foo.com will point to demoserver2.foo.com, and I can press OK on that, and there I have my CNAME. So in such instant where I have to upgrade my server to say demo server 2, let's say demo srv2.foo.com, I'm going to give it an IP address of the same one I have now. Or maybe I give it a new IP address, 1.13 or something, right? So add host there. So now say I've upgraded my server and it's called demo server 2. And instead of giving my clients a new URL to go to, I simply change where this website record points. So go into website, and instead of website pointing to demo server 1, I can just browse in here, drill down to my server and forward lookup zones and foo.com and choose demo server 2 out of my A records and press OK on that. And now website.foo.com will point to demo server 2. So now my clients still type in website.foo.com and they get to the active website. Okay, so I didn't have to give my users a different name to go to. So definitely saves users some headache and kind of gives us an easier way to do things here. So basic information about DNS zones. And this is going to tie into Active Directory in a future video. So if you have any questions about DNS in general, just write those questions down, bring them to class. We'll discuss them there, or simply just shoot me an email in Blackboard or on your Pulaski Tech email, and we can discuss it there as well. I will see you in class, and thank you for watching.